About a month ago, this house was a raging fire. This house was burning so hot and so bright that you can see the glow throughout the neighborhood. This house was burning so hot that it burned the houses to the left of it, to the right of it. The heat was so intense that the houses behind it received damage. The houses across the street from it received damage. This house was burning so hot that it affected everything around it. But within a year, this house will have something so in common with every aspect of your life, but yet it will be completely different from a lot of the aspects of your life because of one thing. This piece of property, these houses, will hit the reset button. So why won't you? So what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank all my patrons and thank all my subscribers on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and bell icon if you're finding me for the first time. We talk about the 360 degrees of life. That was corny, but I don't care. But please share this video with everybody who you think can need this video, because I think everybody kind of need this video every now and again, or you may need it every day. I don't know. I'm going to try to be short, but y'all know me. That's probably not going to happen. All right. So as I showed you in the introduction, this house burned down to the ground. It turned out to be, it's suspected to have been done by some teenagers in the neighborhood. Right? Even the car behind the house burned down, and it burned all these houses and caused inflicted damage all around it. But this is life, people. This is life. Life happens the same way. And I want to talk to you about that today. You know why? Because either your house is burnt down, or you've been on the side of the house and received some damage, or across the street from the house and received some damage, or you was in the houses behind it and received some damage, or you was in the parked car that was next to the other house next door and receive some damage. The thing about nature, the thing about every aspect of life, is that something happens all the time. Change happens all the time. This house burned down to the ground. And people were upset. People were amazed. I drive past this house every day. It's in my neighborhood. I drive past this house every day and I see it. And I see it every day. And right now I see that scar. I see that scar in the neighborhood. If somebody was coming through this neighborhood looking to buy a house or rent a house, whatever it is, looking for a place to live, they're going to see that scar every time they come through the neighborhood. They're going to see it. They're going to see it. They're going to see it. And then it may cause them to say, well, I don't want to buy in this neighborhood. They got a burnt down house right there. I don't want to buy in this neighborhood. Look at the houses next to it. They were afflicted with the damage, because that means that if I buy a house in this neighborhood, my house may be next to the next house that burned. It's damaged. It's scarred. I don't want to live there. I don't want to be there. It's changed the personality of the neighborhood for right now. Because within a year, the insurance companies would have come. I've already seen the insurance companies. Man, they've been out there a lot. They've been taking all their pictures. They've been doing all their assessments. The insurance companies will come. They will provide the funding. They will do whatever the policies dictate. Whatever was put in place, they'll come in. They'll do what's necessary in order to pay off the people, buy off the house. Another buyer, they may sell the land, and another buyer comes in and buys the property now that it's burnt to the ground. The other houses next door, their insurance policies, they will kick in. Everybody who lives next door, the insurance policies kicked in. People across the street behind, insurance policies will kick in. And when all those things kick in, a year from now, maybe a year and a half from now, there will be a brand new house on that spot. There will be new siding done on the houses across the street, the houses behind it, the houses next door to it, may be knocked down because of so much damage. Three possible brand new houses and new remodeling on about 4 other houses in front and behind. All this will happen. And then somebody will drive through this neighborhood and they will say, man, that's a beautiful house. Look at those 3 houses there. That's beautiful. Look at the remodeling on these houses. That's beautiful. Man, I want to live in this neighborhood. They're really doing some changes. They got some brand new houses in here. The people are taking care of these houses. The total personality of the neighborhood changes again. It changes again. Why? Because the insurance companies, the people who own these properties, Press the reset button. Yeah, they went through the damage. They went through the struggle. They went through the trauma of being in the house that was burning down, escaping from the house that was burning down, being next door to the house that was burning down. They went through the trauma of their proximity to a house that was burning down or the house itself. They went through that trauma, that damage. And I don't mean to minimize their trauma at all, but they went through it, but then they recovered. And then they hit a reset button. And now, in a year, they'll be living in a beautiful, brand new house. The houses next door will be beautiful. Right now, they're upset. They're angry. Right now, they're displaced. But in a year and a half, they'll be in a brand new house. There'll be a brand new look. The people who come through won't even know it ever happened. The people who live here, for a while, they was like, oh, you see that beautiful house? Yeah, but I remember when it burnt down. And they'll constantly remind other people, yeah, remember it was burnt down? Remember it was just a whole bunch of sticks and everything was burnt in the yard? Remember that car that was behind the house that burnt down? The people who live here, they'll be saying that for a while. But then in a little while, 5 years later, they won't even talk about it. They'll just be talking about, man, that's a nice new house they got right there. Man, they might even think, man, I wish my house had burned down. I wish I was next door. I'd be in a brand new house right now. Yeah, they'll think something like that. 10 years from now, they won't even think about it. 20 years from now, nobody in this neighborhood would even remember, for the most part, that house burnt to the ground. 20 years from now, half the houses in this neighborhood may be remodeled or been sold off and rebuilt. You drive all over this city of Atlanta and you see regentrification like that happening, where houses and neighborhoods are being torn down that are old houses, new houses being built. 20 years later, that entire neighborhood would be just new houses or newer looking houses. They press the reset button. What does this have in common with your life? First, let me be transparent. If you go online and you Google Uncle Renz popcorn, and I tell you, Uncle Renz, R-E-N-Z popcorn, you'll see that it has been in multiple locations, that it has a bunch of different Yelp pages that has been in this location and now it's closed. It's been in that location and now it's closed. It's been in this location and now it's closed. And you'll look at it and you may think, oh, damn, he can't find a place. He's not being successful. What's going on? What you don't understand is that in my mind's eye, I have been in a location where I did great business, but I told you guys many times before, I made a very stupid emotional mistake over 5 years ago that caused me to lose that wonderful location. And ever since then, I've been chasing it. If I'm in a location and it's not doing what I desire for it to do, if it's not matching or surpassing what the other location did, I close it. I press the reset button. Sure, people are going to talk about it. They may talk about it for a year. They may have been talking about it for 5 years. They may talk about it for the next 6 or 7 years. The one who's been there in close proximity to me, who have followed me from place to place. And I do appreciate those customers who have followed me from place to place and they continue to order online. I appreciate them, but people may talk about it. They may look at it, yeah, he used to be over there. He used to be over there. He just can't get settled. He should quit. He should give up. No, I press the reset button. And I won't stop pressing the reset button until I match or surpass that space that I know has that will produce what I desire for it to produce. Now, understand, I have been through financial issues and troubles throughout the entire time. I have moved into places on a nickel and dime shoestring budget, but it didn't turn out. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. It didn't become what I thought it would be. But I learned so many lessons in the process. Just like you learn your house burned down. Was it the wiring? You learn about the wiring. My house burned down. Was it teenagers? You learn about just people. And things just happen. And then you learn that lesson. You learn about so many things when your house burned down, when you're scarred. You learn about so many things. But the difference is this. I took a step back. What lessons can I learn from this so that I can step forward in my greatness? That's what you have to be able to do. When you have been traumatized, when people have treated you poorly in a relationship. I did a video a couple of days ago. It's called Black People Will Hate This Video. But in around the 12-minute mark, I talked about how I made a mistake in a relationship. And now I got to rebuild it. But we press the reset button. You have to be willing to press a reset button. You have to be willing to let the bulldozer come in and scrape away all the damage from the trauma you experienced. You experience trauma in your childhood. You experience trauma in a marriage. You experience the loss of a loved one. You experience the loss of property. You experience being homeless. You experience so many financial, emotional, physical things. I met a guy the other day when I was out riding my motorcycle on Wednesday. I met a guy. He was in a motorcycle wreck. Amputated his right leg. Got another motorcycle, got it set up so that he can brake by using his hand, and he's still riding. Now, he rides a little safer than he rode before. He pressed the reset button. He didn't let that scarring hold him back from the things that he loved. But so many of us do that. You know, this world is such a negative place. It's such a negative place. Like, we think about the negative before we think about the positive. We have a tendency to say stupid things like, you know, the way my luck is. You're going somewhere. You're about to experience something. And then you think, well, you know, the way my luck is, it'll probably end up like such and such and such and such. The way my luck is, the way things go for me. You already put a negative spin on something that hasn't even happened yet. If there was positive vibration going on with that thing, you've already destroyed it because we live in such a negative world. We watch the news. They tell you negative, 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 negative all the time, all the time, all the time. I was listening to an Akon video interview the other day, technically yesterday. And he said that Africa has to rewrite its own narrative. It has to write its own persona. It has to stop allowing other people to determine how it looks. That the story on Africa is always the negative. That so many negative things happen in America, but they don't talk about it. It's not publicized as much. But Africa has to become its own publicist. And he was very specific in the fact that malaria kills way more people in Africa, but Ebola was the big crisis going on. There were 1 billion people in Africa, had about 1,000 cases of Ebola, which is less than a percentage of the people, but Ebola outbreak, scaring people away from going to Africa. He said Africa has to rewrite and has to be its own new publicist. It has to publicize the positive information, the real information that's going on. That the number of people who die in America is equal to what's going on in some of these other countries, but yet it's not publicized exactly the same. America has had a great PR. Home of the free, land of the brave, the land of opportunity. Come and fulfill your dream. The American dream is one of the greatest propaganda story, publicist story, advertisement, marketing you want to call. And people all over the world from years and years and years, decades to decades, believe it. I'm not mad at America for its PR. But what I am mad about is your own PR. It's the one that you got in your head, the one you got in your heart, the one that is not allowing your energy to flow. That PR is the problem. You see, you experienced some trauma as a child. And that trauma as a child has kept you from experiencing the fullness of life. You experienced trauma in a relationship, in a marriage, where you was treated unkindly, treated unfairly. You were cheated on. You were abused. You were neglected. All these things were happening to you. And now that you're looking to move forward in your life, now you can't trust anyone. Now you can't connect with anyone. Now you can't give that kind of love to anyone because they're going to hurt you. Let me tell you something. 2 of the first people that I gave my whole heart to cheated on me. Another person that when I was in a very precarious situation, I was divorced, and I was very, very open. I was like an open wound, and we were having a good time. And I was doing whatever this young lady, whatever would make her happy, I was willing to do it. And then a few months into the relationship, about 6, 8, 7 months in the relationship, she cheated on me. One of those times when the celebrity crush becomes real, which is, I've never liked those. I could be a bitter person right now. I could be a non-trusting person right now. I could be a person that says, you know what? I'm not giving you my love. I'm not allowing myself to fully open up and love you. I can't do that. But here's the problem. If I do that, then I know that if I am not being loved, I cannot receive love. If I'm not willing to open my heart, then no one is going to open their heart to me. So do I take the risk of my heart being crushed and pummeled again? Do I take the risk of my heart being burnt to the ground again? Yes. You know why? Because I love being me, and I know that I love being in relationship, and I know that I function better in a great relationship. So I will always remain open to a relationship. No matter how many times a relationship burns to the ground, I'm going to be open for that one that I'm looking for, that one that is all I need in my life. I will always be open to it, because otherwise I will be forever damaging myself. Otherwise, I will keep myself living in the comfortable hell that I know. Living in the comfortable hell that I know, instead of reaching for that unknown heaven, that unfamiliar heaven that exists within me and all around me, because I refuse to allow the scarring to control me. You know, nature has a lightning strike, burns an entire forest down, does it every year in California. But then 10 years later, 20 years later, it's a beautiful evergreen forest again. And when you go there 20 years later, there's nothing that lets you know that it burned to the ground. There's nothing that lets you know that it was scarred. Matter of fact, the burning created renewed life. The animals come back. They don't continue to tell their children, the little squirrels, like, hey, you know, this burned down 10 years ago. You know, great-grandpa squirrel told me that it burned down 20 years ago. And, you know, it's beautiful now, but, you know, this is a burnt down place that we're living in. No, they look at all the abundance and they say, this is a good place to be. This is home. This is where I want to live. Nature scars the earth over and over again, what we would call scarring. Natural disasters happen every year. Every year, natural disasters roll through the Caribbean. And nature doesn't remember. It doesn't care that it happened before. The trees will come back. The life will come back. The birds, the animals, they fly away, try to escape, but then they come back and they press that reset button. They say, I don't care that it burned down. I don't care that a tsunami came. I don't care that a hurricane came. I'm coming back, because I'm going to live my best life. They hit that reset button. They say that, yes, the tropics have hurricanes every year. But you know what's in the tropic? The abundance of life. I'm coming back. I'm pressing reset. And I'm not thinking, nor am I worried about the next time, the next thing. I'm not sitting here saying, well, I don't know. There might be another hurricane, so let me go live in scarcity because it might happen again. No, every time, reset. Every time, reset. Nature doesn't focus on that. Nature continues to move. Nature continues to live and have life and have abundance. And that's what we have to live like. We have to live like in nature. I was having a conversation with a gentleman last night. We was talking about all our progress as humans. But it's all of it progress, because a lot of the progress, that things we call progress, has detached us from nature. And because of that detachment from nature, we sometimes forget that there's a reset button. You think spring is talking about winter? You think summer is talking about winter? You think fall is talking about winter? No, winter happens. You think winter is talking about summer? No, summer happens. And every spring, new life abounds. Every spring, the reset button on the world happens. The northern hemisphere right now, reset button, spring. Southern hemisphere is going through fall. They'll go through fall. They'll go through their scarring. They'll go through their destitute, their scarcity of winter. But guess what? Come around September, October of this year, bam! The southern hemisphere hits reset. It's springtime. It's life. It's abundance. It's everything beautiful under the sunshine. But humans, we carry the scars. We carry the damage. We allow the damage to control who we are and control our life. We allow the damage to stop us from having wonderful relationships. We allow the damage to stop us from getting in shape. Oh, I'm too fat. I got diabetes. I got this issue. I can't run. I can't walk. I can't. When I was a personal trainer, I worked with a dude who had both knees operated on. We worked out in the bed. I'm pushing and pulling on them legs in the bed. And then eventually we can stand up in the room. Eventually we can go down the stairs. Eventually we working out, lifting weights. Eventually we outside. Eventually we climb Stone Mountain. Y'all saw that video. I was huffing and puffing, dying inside, going up Stone Mountain. But I hit the reset button. On my health, I hit that damn button. You got to hit that reset button. You can hit it anytime you choose, but we allow the scarring to live with us. We allow the scarring to remind us. We allow the scarring to take us away from having the best life we can. We allow the scarring to keep us from becoming financially wealthy. I told you guys 70, 10, 10, 10. 70, live on 70% of what you make. 10% goes to an investment account, 10% goes to savings, and 10% goes to your entertainment. Get yourself in that position. Build your credit. Join Financially on Fire. Hit the dang reset button on your finances so that in 5 years, 10 years, it'll just be a memory. Remember when I was broke? Remember when we couldn't hardly afford anything? Remember when we couldn't buy anything, when we couldn't go on vacation? Remember when we were always stressed out about our finances 5 years ago? But now we hit that reset button. Now this is where we are. 10 years later, it's just where you are. 20 years later, it's just where you are. You're not even thinking about back then. That reset button was hit. That's not even in your mind. You're over here. That's all you think about. That's all you living. You living this life like you've been living this life forever. And then other people say, man, you must be lucky. You must be lucky. Wow, you're a lucky dude. You're a lucky woman. Wow, you're living like that. Man, you've been blessed. You're blessed. Wow, you're blessed. No, they hit that reset button. It's the law of cause and effect. They hit that reset button. They changed their frequency, their vibration, and they moved up the scale, the polarity scale of wealth, of abundance. You got to hit that reset button. Get out of your scarcity. Get into the abundance. Hit the reset button. You can always hit the reset button on your relationship. Always hit the reset button on your health. Always hit the reset button on your finances. Always hit the reset button on however you live your life. It is up to you. You cannot live by fear and you cannot live in scarcity. If you do, you will die. And there would have been hundreds of thousands of reset buttons in the casket with you, sitting there saying that you never touched me. I was sitting here waiting to give you the abundance of life, but you never pressed me. I was waiting to give you that new bride, that husband that was going to make life worth living, that y'all were going to have the most wonderful life together, loving and committed and loyal and fun, but you never pressed me. I was ready to take you into levels of your health so that you can travel the world and see the things you want to see. You can play with your grandkids and you can hobble them, bump them up on your knee. I was ready to give you that, but you never pressed me. I was ready to give you that new job in that career field that you love, that you always talk about you want to do, but you never pressed me. I was ready to build your business to greater heights, but you never pressed me. I was ready to give you everything that you wanted in life, but you never pressed me. You were laying your casket with reset buttons, looking at you, telling you that you never pressed me. So I'm telling you, press the reset button. Don't live in scarcity and do not live in fear. Stop living in your past, which has created your present, but press the reset button in your present so that you can live your best life in your future. Now, I appreciate everybody. Watch these other videos. Press that reset button. I love you. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable.